press. And if you would, please follow Commissioner Pitts as he leads us in the opening prayer.
Kind and gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you this morning, Lord. We're just thankful for this day and thankful for this sunshine that you give us, Lord. We just want to lift up our nation, Lord, especially the states, the local counties, and all, as we have so much turmoil going, Lord. We know you got your hand on it. We just pray for peace amongst all of the nations, Lord. We just want to lift up Angelina County citizens this morning, Lord, and we just pray that we make the right decisions in all agenda items this morning, Lord. We ask all these things in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please follow Commissioner Cheshire as we honor our U.S. flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And remain standing as we follow Commissioner Kennedy as we pledge to the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. Pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Make sure your speakers are on, everybody. All right. Item number 4, discussion action to canvass and certify the votes for the November 3rd, 2020 presidential and local elections. I'd like to lead off to begin with some unofficial results before we actually read the official results. This is just interesting for the election, for the voters to know. The actual election day precincts reporting was 42 out of 42. It was full house. And precincts complete, 42 out of 44. There was no partially reported precincts. Everything was 100%. Registered voters total in Angelina County is 53,121. Ballots cast total is 34,773 for a total voter turnout of 65.46%. Very high percentage, and it was excellent to have that kind of voter turnout. That apathy has been real bad with voters in the past. Now, we'll go ahead and go into the official results. And this is going to take a while. Candidate name in the president-vice president election: Donald J. Trump, Michael Pence. Early voting by mail, 1,418. Early voting in person, 19,240. Election day count, 4,418. Early voting count total, 20,658. For canvass results of 25,076. Joseph R. Biden, Kamala D. Harris. Early voting by mail is 1,432. Early voting in person is 6,285. Election day count is 1,426. Total early voting count of 7,717. For a total canvass results, 9,143. Joe Jordanson, Jeremy Spike. Early voting by mail, 17. Early voting in person, 183. Election day count, 74. Early voting count, 200. For a total canvass results of 274. Howie Hawkins, Angela Walker. Early voting by mail, 0. Early voting in person, 54. Election day count, 21. early voting total count 54, for a total canvass results of 75. President R. Bodie, Eric Stone, early voting by mail, 0. Early voting in person, 0. Election day count, 0. Early voting count, 0. Canvass results, 0. Brian Carroll, Amar Patel, early voting by mail, 0. Early voting in person, 3. Election day count, 0, for a total early voting count of 3 and canvass results of 3. Todd Silla, Tim Silla, early voting by mail, 0. Early voting in person, 0. Election day count, 0. Early voting count, 0. And canvass results, 0. Jesse Sillar, Jimmy Montreal, early voting by mail, 0. Early voting in person, 0. Election day count, 0. Early voting total count, 0. And canvass results, 0. Tom Hofling and Andy Pryor, early voting by mail, 0. Early voting in person, 2. Election day count, 0. Early voting total count, 2. And canvass results, 2. Gloria Rivera, Leonard Pelche, early voting by mail, 0. Early voting in person, 1. Election day count, 0. Early voting count, 1. Canvass results, 1. Abram Loeb, Jennifer Jarrara, early voting by mail, 0. Early voting in person, 0. Election day count, 0. Early voting total count, 0. And canvass results, 0. Robert Morrow and Ann Beckett, early voting by mail, 0. Early voting in person, 0. Election day count, 0. Early voting count, 0. Canvass results, 0. Casey Wells, Rachel Wells, early voting by mail, 0. Early voting in person, 0. Election day count, 0. Early voting count, 0. And canvass results, 0. Now we go to U.S. Senator. John Cornyn, early voting by mail, 1,471. Early voting in person, 19,173. Election day count, 4,318. For a total early voting count of 20,644. With official canvass results of 24,962. Mary Hagar, early voting by mail, 1,369. Early voting in person, 5,994. Election day count, 1,408. For a total early voting count of 7,363. Total canvass results of 8,771. Carrie Douglas McKinnon, early voting by mail, 15. Early voting in person, 321. Election day count, 125. For a total early voting count of 336. For a total canvass results of 461. David B. Collins, early voting by mail, 7. Early voting in person, 111. Election day count, 43. For a total early voting count of 118. for a total canvass results of 161. Ricardo Tourlis Benila, early voting by mail, 0. Early voting in person, 0. Election day count, 0. Early voting count, 0. For canvass results, 0. All right, now we're going to Representative District 1. U.S. Representative District 1. Louis Gohmert, early voting by mail, 1,420. Early voting in person, 19,388. Election day count, 4,451, for a total early voting count of 20,808. For official canvass results of 25,259. Hank Gilbert, early voting by mail, 1,369. Early voting in person, 6,297. Election day count, 1,460, for a total early voting count of 7,666. Official canvass results of 9,126. Now we go to Road Commissioner. James Jim Wright, early voting by mail, 1,464. Early voting in person, 19,216. Election day count, 4,365, for a total early voting count of 20,680. Canvass results of 25,045 counts. Next person is Krista Castanilla. Early voting by mail is 1,318. Early voting in person is 5,778. Election day count of 1,330. Early voting count of 7,096, for an official canvass results of 8,426. Next person is Matt Starrett. Early voting by mail, 17. Early voting in person, 370. Election day count, 143, for a total early voting count of 387. Canvass results of 530. Kat Grunig, early voting by mail, 7. Early voting in person, 139. Election day count, 42. Early voting count, 146, for a total canvass results of 188. Next individual, Chief Justice, Supreme Court. Next position, Chief Justice, Supreme Court. Nathan Haidt, early voting by mail, 1,405. Early voting in person, 18,958. Election day count, 4,288, for a total early voting count of 20,363. Canvass results, 24,651. Next individual, Amy Clark Meacham. Early voting by mail is 1,353. Early voting in person is 6,121. Election day count of 1,418, for an early voting count of 7,474. Total canvass results of 8,892. Next individual is Mark Ash. Early voting by mail, 22. Early voting in person is 457. Election day count, 176. total early voting count of 479, for a canvass results of 655. Now, next office is Justice Supreme Court, Place 6. Candidate name, Jane Bland. Early voting by mail, 1,448. Early voting in person, 19,471. Election day count, 4,464, for a total early voting count of 20,919. Canvass results, 25,383. Next individual, same post, is Kathy Ching. Early voting by mail, 1,329. Early voting in person, 6,031. Election day count of 1,409, for a total early voting count of 7,360, and the canvass results of 8,769. Next position, Justice Supreme Court, Place 7. First individual is Jeff Boyd. Early voting by mail is 1,427. Early voting in person, 19,182. Election day count, 4,369. Early voting count of 20,609, for canvass results in the amount of 24,978. Next individual, Stacy Williams. Early voting by mail, 1,354. Early voting in person, 5,934. Election day count, 1,357, for a total early voting count of 7,288. Canvass results, 8,645. Next individual is William Bryan Strange III. Early voting by mail of 16. Early voting in person, 397. Election day count, 151. Early voting count, 413. For canvass results of 564. Next position, Justice Supreme Court, Place 8. First individual, Brett Busby. Early voting by mail, 1,437. Early voting in person, 19,176. Election day count, 4,350. Early voting count of 20,613, for canvass results of 24,963. Next individual is Gisela Triana. Early voting by mail, 1,327. Early voting in person is 5,903. Election day count of 1,341, for a total early voting count of 7,230. Canvass results of 8,571. Next individual, Tom Oxford. Early voting by mail, 31. Early voting in person, 417. Election day count, 160, for a total early voting count of 448, which resulted in a canvass results of 608. Next post, Judge, Court of Criminal Appeals, Place 3. First individual, Bert Richardson. Early voting by mail, 1,441. Early voting in person, 19,352. Election day count, 4,435. For a total early voting count of 20,793, which resulted in canvass results of 25,228. Next individual, Elizabeth Davis Frizzell. Early voting by mail, 1,338. Early voting in person, 6,152. Election day count, 1,434. Early voting count, 7,490. Canvass results of 8,924. Next position, Judge, Court of Criminal Appeals, Place 4. First individual, Kevin Patrick Yearly. Early voting by mail, 1,424. Early voting in person, 19,417. Election day count, 4,448. For a total early voting count of 20,841. Canvass results, 25,289. Next individual, Tina Clinton. Early voting by mail, 1,337. Early voting in person, 6,044. Election day count, 1,413. For a total early voting count of 7,381. Canvass results, 8,794. Next position, Judge, Criminal Appeals, Place 9. First individual, David Newell. Early voting by mail, 1,429. Early voting in person, 19,415. Election day count, 4,464. For a total early voting count of 20,844. Canvass results, 25,308. Next candidate, Brandon Birmingham. Early voting by mail, 1,326. Early voting in person, 6,016. Election day count, 1,392. For a total early voting count of 7,342. Canvass results of 8,734. Next position is State Board of Education, District 9. Candidate name, Kevin Ellis. Early voting by mail, 1,448. Early voting in person, 19,488. Election day count, 4,410. For a total early voting count of 20,936. Canvass results of 25,346. Next individual, Brenda Davis. Early voting by mail, 1,286. Early voting in person, 6,037. Election day count, 1,451. For an early voting count of 7,323. Canvass results, 8,774. Next position, State Representative, District 57. Candidate name, Trent Ashby. Early voting by mail, 1,549. Early voting in person, 20,221. Election day count, 4,613. Early voting count, total 21,770. Canvass results of 26,383. Next individual, Jason Rogers. Early voting by mail is 1,201. Early voting in person is 5,416. Election day count is 1,285 for a total early voting count of 6,613. Canvass results of
6,617.
6,617.
Yes, you said 13.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Corrected. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
6,617. My eyes are going cross.
I understand.
For a total canvass results of 7,902. Next position, Chief Justice, 12th Court of Appeals District. Candidate name, Jim Worthen. Early voting by mail, 18,994. Early voting in person is 23,062. Election day count of 5,377. Early voting count for a total of 24,956. Canvass results is 30,333. Unopposed. So next office, District Attorney, 159th Judicial District. Candidate name, Janet Castles. Early voting by mail, 1,892. Early voting in person, 23,058. Election day count, 5,393. For a total early voting count of 24,950. Resulted in canvass results of 30,343. Unopposed. Next position is County Attorney. Candidate name, Carrie Kirby. Early voting by mail, 1,906. Early voting in person, 23,234. Election day count, 5,420. Early voting count, 25,140. For canvass results of 30,560. Unopposed. Next position, Sheriff. Candidate name, Greg Sanchez. Early voting by mail, 1,960. Early voting in person, 22,439. Election day count of 5,193. Early voting count, 24,399. For a total canvass results of 29,592. Unopposed. Next office, County Tax Assessor Collector. Candidate name, Billy Page. Early voting by mail is 2,001. Early voting in person is 23,359. Election day count is 5,423. Early voting count is 25,360. Canvass results, 30,783. Unopposed. Next position, County Commissioner, Precinct 1. Candidate name, Stephen Allen. Early voting by mail, 513. Early voting in person, 6,940. Election day count, 1,975. For a total early voting count of 7,453. Canvass results, 9,428. Unopposed. Next position, County Commissioner, Precinct 3. Candidate name, Terry Pitts. Early voting by mail, 453. Early voting in person, 7,079. Election day count, 1,448. For a total early voting count of 7,532. Canvass results of 8,980. Unopposed. Oh. Okay. Next office, which was on this page, County Constable, Precinct 1. Candidate name, Tom Selman. Early voting by mail, 1,049. Early voting in person, 8,815. Election day count, 1,835, for a total early voting count of 9,864. Canvass results, 11,699. Next position, that was unopposed. Next position, County Constable Precinct 2. Candidate name, Trey Trevathan. Early voting by mail is 425. Early voting in person is 6,407. Election day count is 1,990, for a total early voting count of 6,832. Canvass results, 8,822, unopposed. Next position, County Constable Precinct 3. Candidate name is Chad Wilson. Early voting by mail is 293. Early voting in person is 5,405. Election day count, 952. Early voting count for a total of 5,698. Canvass results is 6,650, unopposed. Next position, County Constable Precinct 4, Ray Anthony, candidate name. Early voting by mail, 158. Early voting in person, 2,604. Election day count, 632, for a total early voting count, 2,762, for a canvass results of 3,394. And gentlemen, that is the total.
Motion to approve is read.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve as read the results. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Can I say one thing first,
Certainly.
for the record?
Sure.
One ago, we got railroad commission, our railroad commissioner, you said road commissioner.
I did.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just wanted to make sure that was.
Hey,
sure.
I did. I am very
No, I
sorry.
ain't trying to call you down, I just
Oh,
want to make
no,
sure.
no, I
It's
appreciate
right on the
it.
record, you know.
That's what I want y'all doing
Yeah.
is
Okay.
checking my reading,
I hear you. That's all I had.
because it was a lot of reading.
I
Yes.
also add that Ms. Hawkins has done an excellent job with her staff.
Oh, no doubt.
And
Yeah,
it's monumental, and we appreciate it, in the continuity of our vote, the vote, not our vote, but the continuity of the vote
Yeah.
is the most important thing in our Constitution, and y'all done an excellent job.
with
Yep.
all the issues that we've had this year, excellent job. Very excellent job. As I've said before, good job. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion does pass, thank goodness. All right, if you would now, please check and see if we have anybody signed up. We will move on to item number 5 for the next part of our program, public forum. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Dave. Nobody.
Okay, yeah, tell him to, if you would, please come to the door.
Is he our bailiff today?
It would appear. He's doing a good job.
Except he's not a licensed peace officer.
He's not a licensed peace officer, I understand.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yes. Yes, and you didn't have a sign-up sheet outside, so when you,
Well, I'll do that now if you'd like.
if you would, please, and submit it to Amy.
Hey, can I do something?
Certainly.
I want to publicly congratulate Steve. I'm proud of him. He'll do a good job for us, so. And, just make sure you know I'm proud of you. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I'm actually a little mad, he got more votes than I did.
Ooh. Good morning. Eric, good morning.
Sorry, I was reading that.
That's all right. All right. State your name, and it's obvious that you're coming to talk about the optional road system, so.
Thank you. You all appreciate it. I really just wanted to come to say thank you to you all for starting this process as quick as you are and getting it going. I wanted to remind you that 70% of the public approximately in the county wants to see this happen. I know you all are willing to do what they want, but to say to you that whether it works or not, it's 100% on you. And you can't, there's not going to be any blaming it on anybody else. You're going to hire an individual, and if he does a good job, you're going to get credit. If he doesn't do a good job, you're going to get the blame. That's just the way it is. You're going to set his salary. You're going to select him. You're going to set his salary, and you're going to handle his budget, and you're going to oversee what he does. And so I really commend you for starting that particular part of this process first. I think that it's imperative that you start searching for the right person to do this job. And there are a lot of good people out there that can do this. You know, I know, thinking about how you go about finding the right person. But every church has this when they're trying to find a pastor. They got a search process that they go through, and you know, just anybody that's looking for somebody to run part of a business will realize that they really need to set aside any strong feelings that they may have otherwise and just concentrate on finding the right person for the right job at the right time. And I think you got that going for you. I think the other thing that is going to be important, and you know, you understand that if you hire this guy and you can fire this guy. He doesn't do what he's supposed to be doing, and he ought to make you look good. And if he's qualified, and you're going to know what kind of job that he's doing, because he should be providing you with complete transparency of everything that is done. And you know, as it is now, I dare say that any of you really know what the situation is with the other commissioners and their roads. You're just dependent upon them to be doing a good job, and you're trying to do a good job with what you have to work with. And I know, though, that if you find the right guy and turn it over to him and let him manage it, then it will be a really good thing, and it's going to give you all a tremendous amount of relief personally, and the amount of time and effort that you've got to put into this, into the job. And we've expected you all to be great road commissioners. That's what we've always called you. And but we've grown up in our community to where your job is much greater than just looking after roads. You've got huge budgets and other matters. So all you want to do is just get the job done. And I know that all of y'all will do everything that you have to make that happen. One of the really good things that you have going for you is that we have a neighbor in Nacogdoches County that has a great system. You don't have to reinvent this wheel. They'll share with you everything that they do and how they do it and all that. And I think once you look at that in depth, you'll find that they really are very efficient in the work that they do for the roads, and do it at a good cost. This system itself is not going to increase taxes. No reason why it should. If taxes are increased, you're going to be the one that does that. And this person is not going to make you do anything. You're going to make him do what he needs to do. You're going to maintain oversight over what he spends and how he spends it and how he takes care of your particular precinct. Each one of you will have the right to see what he does every day. Every piece of equipment, how it's utilized, every employee, how they're utilized. Chances are that there won't be any of your employees that won't continue under this new thing. If they're qualified, if they're doing their job, they all should retain their job and their position with the county. You've got some good people, I know you do, and you've depended upon them to this point in time, so you obviously have confidence in them. And I do not see a road administrator making any significant changes in that. This thing obviously is a process. It's going to take a little bit of time first, but the most important thing is to have a plan. How are you going to get from here to there? And then first thing after that, you're going to probably have to find the person and let him help make a lot of those decisions. Then the other thing that you're going to have to do is you're going to have an assessment done of the roads. Like I say, each of you do not know what the other one's condition of their roads is, and that's understandable. Not being critical about that, but that's just the case. But if we're going to try to put all the roads in one pot and assess the use and need and the condition, then there's got to be somebody that knows that, and it may very well require some kind of an engineering firm or something like that to go out and make an assessment. You know, it's going to cost some money to get this thing up and going. I don't think it's going to be nearly as much as what's been suggested. This person that you hire is going to be paid out over a year, but the cost of going out and doing a road assessment will cost you some money initially. Other than that, I don't see why there should be much other cost. I don't think you're going to be building barns or doing anything else until you've gotten all these other things in place to see if that's necessary or not, and it's going to be efficient. But that person hopefully is going to help you make those decisions. But it's really a good thing. I know there's been a lot of hard feelings and a lot of things that have been said that we all have to kind of get over. But y'all are honorable people in our community, and people have confidence in you to do the right thing. And so that's what I know that we're going to see happen here. And I'm just grateful, and I ask you to please call upon Smith County. They've offered to meet with us, give us any information, or meet with you, give you any information you need. And I think you can pick up from there. You may be able to do much better than what they've done. But anyway, it's on you guys. I know y'all are up to it and will too. So thank you for the
Mr.
opportunity
Warhol.
just to mention to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, from here, comments, this
Hey,
is,
hold on just a second. Bob.
Sure.
Sure, I want to ask a question.
sure, of course, I'm sorry.
Yes.
you are one of the bigger advocates of this unit road system, I know that.
Right.
In all this process that happening here, has anybody got any idea of what this is gonna cost the county?
Well, I mean, you're going.
Any idea what it's gonna cost for administrator? Any idea? And the reason I'm going there is where are y'all gonna find the money at? What pot are you gonna reach into and get this money to make this happen?
We're gonna get to that in the workshop. Matter of fact, it's been discussed, and we're gonna get to that next.
Well, I know you probably
But
will,
it's gonna be county and not outside. We're gonna handle it ourselves. Here, this discussion, has taken place with county attorney, auditor, and, we think we've got some good solutions. So that's gonna be
Greg,
part
I
of the
can't,
workshop.
I don't know what the individual's gonna cost.
I don't understand why a person would push so hard to have something and not know what it costs to do it, to the
What?
people in the county.
Sure. Well, I mean, I certainly have my own opinion about what kind of cost you're gonna be looking at.
Yeah.
And I've talked about that a lot. To me, the real expense is gonna be, two things. It's gonna be in what's that individual gonna cost you to get the right person, whether he's an engineer or not an engineer, and you're gonna have to go out in the market and see what it's gonna cost. Because if you don't get the right person, this will never work, and you won't, but everybody else will be to blame for this.
Right.
And so, I can tell you what, basically the cost in Nacogdoches is for that individual.
See, the problem I have with that.
Yeah.
You keep bringing up Nacogdoches. Nacogdoches is an iron ore-based county.
Yeah.
I mean, those roads are built on iron ore.
Some of them, yeah.
And we have sandy loam, here, so, in most of our county.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's eggs and bacon here. There's a big difference. You know what I'm saying?
It's really not in management.
Well.
Management is management. You manage whatever situation you have.
Yeah, I know, but it still costs more money to set up roads here than it does there.
Yeah. But we gotta have better roads. I mean, that's clear.
Yeah.
It's
What if
clear.
we'd had the money in the first place, we'd had good roads.
But think about it now. Why would it cost any more money, to speak of, to do it right than what we've got today? If we're talking about hiring a manager, and maybe he's got to have an assistant. Okay, right. Okay, so you're gonna spend $100,000, $200,000. I don't know what that number is.
That's a mile of road.
Pardon me?
That would be a mile of road.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
whatever it is, but a good manager is gonna save money. I guarantee you, always has. That's why every company has good managers, because they save money. And that's what's gonna happen here. You're gonna have a better use of your equipment, you're gonna have a better use of your personnel, and everybody's gonna be treated fairly. But what else is it gonna cost? Okay, so you just went and borrowed $6 million.
I understand, to fix roads.
And you may call this.
In the last 6 years.
Sure, I'm not even talking about that. I'm saying you're worried about spending a couple $100,000 to get this system in place that the public wants and that the law provides for, when you just went and borrowed $6 million.
That we needed. to fix
I didn't
roads.
say you didn't need it.
What?
I didn't say you didn't need it.
Well.
But I'm just saying, the cost of putting this into place should be minimal. I mean, that's my,
Minimal.
well, compared to 6 million it is, or compared
When you're
to,
putting it in roads, it's not.
well,
Well,
hopefully,
that's okay.
hopefully,
Greg,
got
we're
your
gonna,
opinion,
we're,
I got
we're
mine.
gonna
Go
discuss
ahead.
all that. The next individual that's gonna talk is gonna address, moving forward, and hopefully we'll be able to answer some of those questions. Because that's why we're here, is to do exactly what you're asking. We're trying to get to the next step and start it as quickly as possible, and that's what we're here
yeah.
for.
I really think the bigger expense is probably gonna be a road assessment. Initial expense. I don't know what that's gonna cost.
So the assessments we've done every year for the last 6 years I've been here, Yeah, 5 years. That's right, 5 years. So they don't mean nothing that when we was telling them we needed this to fix roads?
Greg, please don't brag on those things. Those are the worst assessments I have ever seen.
So-
Good, bad, poor, sorry, whatever. That's all it says. And then you,
Mr. Farnwell,
I'm sorry.
Let me interrupt you just
Yes,
just a second.
sure.
You can assess roads in a multitude of different ways, good, bad, poor, or excellent. The state rates roads 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Okay.
The Forest Service rates roads 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so
Sure.
that's not comparison, okay, with what your argument is of how we assess roads. We assess roads on a dollar amount, okay? Precinct 4 alone needs $8+ million to fix all the roads the way they need to be fixed. I mean, Precinct 3, I mean, you added up what we assessed. Those are fairly accurate numbers of what we believe needs to be done. So, and what does it mean? It doesn't really mean anything unless you have the money to do it with.
Well,
Am I wrong?
well, of course, you got to figure out what it costs to do it. But the problem is that your comparison to what the state does, they rate roads based on use, not on the condition of the road. They base them on, now, maybe whether they've got asphalt on them, but they have a different way of rating it. What you're asked to do in that report is to come up with what is the condition of, what is it going to reasonably cost to maintain, not to rebuild, not to do anything, just to maintain the roads in your precinct for the following year, and that's so it could be used for your budget. Yours was, you said 8 million, and the year before it was 9 million, and I've forgotten what others were, but Terry's was $14 million. Well, just to maintain the roads in the county? I'm just saying that those assessments are not reasonable. They are.
Well, I'll challenge.
I'd like for the public to see those. If you're proud of them, I'd like for the public to see them.
They're made available. I don't, Ms. Fincher, they're filed in her office. Everybody has access to them. But I'm gonna challenge you, on this. When a road administrator, whoever it may be, comes in and does a feasibility study, you're gonna see those numbers double or triple of what the assessments are on their basis versus our basis. So just remember that.
I'll remember that. They won't be that. They won't be.
I can assure you.
That, your kind of numbers,
They will be.
$15 million just to maintain the roads in Terry's precinct? And your numbers vary so incredibly different. Y'all don't have a standard on how you assess what it's gonna cost.
We have different types of roads, Mr. Farnwell, and you
Okay.
know that. Some of them are logging roads, some of them are subdivision roads, some of them are through, cross,
I agree.
travel roads.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, we have a road in precinct 4 that has more traffic on it than an FM road does. Okay, and we've done that count. We know that count of traffic that's on there. It's used extremely.
Well, let me just ask one question.
Yeah.
Does Mr. Pitts know that about your roads?
No, sir, and he shouldn't.
Okay, that's my point.
Well,
We're talking about all the roads in the county.
Sure,
Treated
gonna
fairly.
It's gonna be combined. It's all gonna be combined. But he's in charge of precinct 3, not me. I'm in charge of precinct
I still
4.
got something left.
Okay,
Okay, so that's where we get our different assessments from.
sure.
All right, moving
Okay.
forward.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Appreciate your
Mr.
input.
Portnoy. All right, if.
Push.
Is there anyone else out there? I just want to make sure that. All right, moving forward then. With the court's permission, I'd like to have our auditor come forward. She's been doing some research with auditors of other counties that have been through this process, and I'd like for her to report what she's found out so far. if you would, please.
I'm Janice Cordray, the county auditor. I have talked to Coryell County, I've talked to Karnes County, I've talked to a lady in Reeves, well, she's not in Reeves County now, but she was when they went from the precinct system to the unit road system. So the statute says that the unit road system is supposed to go into effect immediately after the election. Well, the statute doesn't tell us how we're supposed to transition from the precinct to the unit road system. So it's going to be a matter of a process. After talking to these various auditors, and I've got calls in to some more, each one of them did it differently. Everybody did something different. So my idea, and of course I've not had the chance to sit down and discuss this totally with Carrie, but the thing that I have sort of combined all their ideas together into one, and this is what I'm leaning toward. For us to continue to the end of this year as we are, with our current budgets as they are, with the 4 commissioners being the administrator over the fund until the end of the year. The reason for that being is because our audit is a calendar year audit. If we try to make changes now in the middle of November, then that's going to create problems with the audit also. Then for 2021 going forward, to take the budget, each one of your budgets, combine it into, from the precinct budgets into a unit road budget. So I would be combining all 4 budgets into one road budget. Each one of the 4 of you would still have the administration of your precinct based on your budget that we have adopted as of right now. I don't know if that makes sense or not. You each have your budget that we've adopted right now for 2021. I would combine all of those budgets into one unit road budget. But each one of you would still be the administrator over that budget that we've adopted. Say, Hardtop Road, you've got 250, you've got 300, you would still have 250, you'd still have 300 that you would be managing. But it's all gonna be in one budget. I mean, it would be into one
One line
fund.
item?
Yes, all of them would be combined into one line item, into one fund. But you would still each be in charge of your line item as the budget stands currently for 2021, until we can get a road administrator, and then he would be responsible going forward after that. Now, as far as the suggestion has been made, talking with other auditors, that when I combine the 4 funds into the one fund, then we're currently, how are we gonna fund a road administrator? Take and create the road administrator position and fund it with a transfer from the combined fund balances. And that's sort of as far as I've gotten.
The road bridge fund balance.
Yeah, yes, the one unit road system fund balance, because all 4 would be combined into one fund. And then we would create the new position for the road administrator, and out of that combined fund balance, then we could fund his position.
So you'll take that much money out of what money you would have for roads?
Yeah.
For your budget.
For your-
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it would be out of the fund balance itself. So if you've got $50,000 fund balance, permit's got 100,000, all the fund balances would be combined into one fund balance. Just like Hardtop Road, all of it would be combined into one Hardtop Road account. But you would each still be responsible for your share of that fund, that budget that we've approved right now.
You and I have discussed this before, and I know it's not a popular idea, but I do want you to kind of elaborate on it and think about it. It's going to put some pressure on your office. You know, I'm a strong advocate for fiscal year budget instead of a calendar year budget.
I'm not talking about that, Bobby.
I understand, but to get us to the absolute unit road system format faster instead of a 12-month period, we could get it there in a 9-month period if this court chooses to go to a fiscal year budget instead of a calendar year budget. What would be your, and I know your opinion, and I mean, you're not necessarily in
That's not-
favor of it. It would be difficult to do, but I believe that it would get us to where the voters want us faster.
I don't see how going from a calendar year to a fiscal year is gonna get us there any faster. I mean,
Well, it would go from a 12-month period to a 9-month period. We would be in a 9-month budget that would end in September 31st.
it's gonna cost us more money because we're gonna have to have 3 audits instead of 2. We'd have to have an audit for,
This is what the voters voted for.
they didn't vote for changing our calendar
Well,
year
I
to fiscal
understand that,
year.
but they want, from their mandate, they're telling us they want unit road system, and it's our job to get us there as quick as we can.
Well, we can still do the same thing without changing from a calendar year to a fiscal year. I mean, all these other counties, they've done, I mean, some of them have been fiscal year, some of them have been calendar year, and they've done the same thing.
I understand that, but I mean,
I think we're.
not saying that that's the option that we go, but I'm just, and I've discussed, you know, why I feel like I believe we should be on a fiscal year versus a calendar year. But that's something for us in the court to really seriously look at. And I know you're not happy with it, but I mean, I think we need to look at it.
Have you had a chance, you said you had some others that you were still reaching out to. Have you had a chance to check with Washington County yet?
No, I've not talked to them, and I forget who I've got. I'm waiting for him to give me a call back, and there's a couple more that I'm going to talk to.
Yeah, the commissioners down there seem to be very pleased with their system. They've been in it a few years, so, yeah.
But as of right now, that's all the information I've got would be that we continue, the 4 of you continue through the end of the year as the officials over your budgets, and then in January, well, we have to adopt the budget in December to go into effect January 1, if we went that way.
Would you touch on the spending options that you had talked about as far as POs, this sort of thing going forward if we go that route?
Well, if we go and you put it in the one fund, which is what we need to do, then, and if each of the commissioners are gonna be responsible for their precinct, then they would continue to do the POs just like we are right now.
Okay.
I mean, some of the counties had said, well, they went to the unit road system, they went to the one fund, and they either appointed a commissioner, or they appointed the judge, or they appointed someone to take on that responsibility. But why?
Gotcha.
I mean, each one of you can still continue to do, act as the official for that precinct until we get the person hired.
Gotcha.
Is our road material money gonna be we'll still, starting in January, we'll just continue on with that?
Yes, it would all still be in one fund, but you would still have your share. Each one of you would still have
So
your share.
the money's not froze right now, is that what you're saying?
Right.
Okay.
No.
I mean, I just understood it was froze.
Oh, yeah,
I may have a call, but
I did too. I understood it was froze.
I just, I was
No,
told to
it's-
shut it down, so I didn't know.
No, we're still taking care of roads, still doing everything basically just like we've been doing. We're just in a process moving forward to try to gradually.
Well, we
get
were
this
under
done.
the impression that we were given that on 12/01, on the 4th of November, that our fund source had ceased.
Yeah, well, your impression was wrong.
Well, that was the impression that was the impression we were given.
I understand, but that was wrong.
Well,
We're-
according to the election, yes, the unit road system went into effect that day or the next day. But we gotta be reasonable here. I mean, we got to get it all figured out and worked out. And as far as, the unit road system fund in 2021, I would say that each of you would still have your budgets that you would be working with at the time being, but any major purchase outside the Purchasing Act, our contracts that we have in place, or any major purchase that would need to come up would need to be approved before court, or by the court before it was done, in order to,
Anything over 50?
pardon?
Well, we go out for contracts in March, I believe. Isn't that right, Amy? It's March.
You talking about bids?
Yeah, bids.
I think it's April.
Is it April?
I think it's
Now, March first is what a lot
Yeah,
of people
yeah.
look at, but in April is when
Yeah,
they
that's-
actually
that's
do
right.
it, yeah. And I would say, you'd mentioned the 50, I would say that any major purchase, just personal thinking, any major purchase needs to be run through the court until we can get this thing.
You talking about even into next year, you talking about the remainder of this year?
No, I'm talking about, well, this year and next year, because we're gonna have, we've got notes and leases and stuff that we've still got to pay. And so, even though they're all, it's gonna be coming out of that one line item, you know, we know we've got that responsibility, but anything else that would come up, I think would need to be approved by the court as a whole, in advance.
Do y'all anticipate anything different in your budget? Like major purchases or anything? I mean, that's not, I don't, I mean, yeah,
I do wanna add, if you're, are you through?
yeah, go ahead.
I like, well, I wanna say this, I don't want, I wanna do this from Road and Bridge. I don't want any other department suffering, and I, probably not the right word, but I think we can do this with Road and Bridge. And I've got some ideas that I'll throw out later, but I like the idea of what you're talking about hiring. I don't know if everybody got Kerry's email last night or not, but some of the options, it looks like we might can even wait till the budget cycle before we do anything. But here's where I'm going with that. I wanna hire somebody as quick as possible. And I don't know if y'all are on the same page as I am or not, but the way I read this law, we shall hire a road engineer. So I think, you know, well, he's gotta have TxDOT district engineer
Right.
experience or credentials.
Yeah.
I think that's where, I think we gotta make a good faith effort to do that, is the way I read it. And then if we can't, then we can drop down.
Exactly.
But when I say I wanna hire somebody as soon as possible, here's what I'd like to see happen. I'd like to see us get somebody hired, do all of our, you know, advertising and interviewing and all that. I would like to see them go to each precinct for at least a month while we're still working like we are, which would be good. You know, that way he can ride with me or my foreman and learn our roads and area.
That's not a bad idea.
And then he can go to 1 and 2, and that way he ain't just threw in the fire. I mean, he ain't even gonna know where a lot of roads are or
Yeah.
anything, you know.
Yeah.
So maybe if we can come up with the money, like you're talking about, to get him hired, then we can kind of put him in training until the budget cycle. And then maybe, I don't know what I was legal, but that's
Well,
kind of what I read from him.
If we started advertising, quickly,
Yeah,
you know, is, with interviews and this sort of thing, it's not gonna happen immediately. But if we take Janice's, suggestion of the first of the year, by that time when things are combined with the fund balance all combined together, that's going to allow the options for salaries and this sort of thing. But we've got to actually start looking to see who's out there, who's available, and what are they gonna require as far as cost. But you're right, I think that's an excellent idea.
and I'll tell you something else, Steve probably gonna hate me for this, but I'm glad you're here, I didn't have to get behind your back. I would kinda like to see somewhat of a hiring freeze. And let me tell you where I'm going with that. I know he's gonna have 4 or
You're
5.
talking about for road and bridge?
For Road and
Road and
Bridge.
Bridge.
He's gonna have 4 or 5 openings, which he's probably gonna need to hire a foreman or whatever. I'm not saying let's don't let him hire, and I'm gonna have an opening. So before we fill those, why don't we get the new guy's idea of what he needs, and maybe we can use those salaries
That's another excellent idea.
for him and for his administrative assistant,
Yeah.
whatever.
All right. So if we,
Do we wanna advertise for applications now?
Well,
Well, we need to set some, I think, some salary ranges.
this meeting here is to start getting an idea and get everybody on the same page. So everybody get all the ideas out there. And we can have another meeting immediately. We can go as fast or as slow, but I think that probably another workshop would be definitely in the works. We can either do it, in conjunction with the Commissioners Court, either after or before to try to, answer any questions, or we can set another special session. We just need to, we need to have an opportunity to reflect on what we find out today as far as the ideas.
I think we should go ahead and start advertising for engineers and road administrators. I mean, have them people start applying. I don't know really how many we're gonna get inundated with, because for one, they don't know what salary's gonna be. And I mean, I'm not gonna apply for a job myself unless I know what I'm gonna get paid. But we can have them make us an offer, you know, so we can know what they expect, or what we expect from them. Is that feasible, guys?
Can we come up with at least a bottom line of what the salary, you know?
I was thinking a range depending on qualifications, that way it give us a,
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
from 100,000 to 150 or whatever, for
Here's-
an engineer.
Here's what I see looking into a crystal ball, which it can be cloudy or it can be clear. To get a road engineer, I think is gonna cost substantial amounts of money. To get and that's somebody that we're looking for, has administrative experience, has road building experience, possibly even a road administrator from another county who might be looking to come to this area. The other issue is if we just hire a road administrator, I don't think they're gonna work for more than 12 months. That's just my opinion.
When
Well-
you're talking,
Go
when you're
ahead.
talking to the other counties, try to find out at the same time, if you would, what kind of salary they've got with their road systems.
Okay.
Because I know that you've talked to several, we know, of course, what our Across the River is doing, Nacogdoches County. But I have a pretty good idea of what Smith County's doing, but I do not know what Montgomery or the others, any of the others, Coriel or any of the other counties are doing. So
Should be able to look that up.
It's on a list, I mean, as far as that goes, but if you would, just
Okay.
start compiling that, so when we actually do start advertising, which is a good idea as far as that goes, to go ahead and put something together within the next week or so, but we need to have an idea of a range, commensurate with experience and licensing, you know? Okay,
Yeah.
all right, any other suggestions?
Well, I think we should not overlook a road administrator versus an engineer at the same time. I think we should be looking at both types of applicants, because as the statute states, we should look for a road engineer first. And if we
Yes.
can't
Right.
find a road engineer that we are feasibly able to obtain, then we have to fall back to a road
To an
superintendent.
experienced person, but not a credentialed person. I
Right.
understand.
And I'll say this, and, you know, like I said, the voters have issued a mandate, and it's a mandate to us, okay? So we're gonna do our best to try to implement and make it work. And from the study and research and everything that I have done personally, is the places that it works and that it works the best is under a road administrator and not an engineer. The places that engineers work the best are in major metropolitan areas where they're building streets and with curbs and gutters and things like that. And if we need to, we can subcontract the engineering stamp out to somebody else, because there's several engineering firms here in Lufkin that we've used on other projects. We used an engineering firm when they rebuilt the old Iowa Highway.
Another option.
And so, it's just, I think we don't want to sell ourselves short by strictly focusing this initial application on a certified engineer. And so, I think.
Let me ask you this.
Uh,
We've had a workshop today. We've got a commissioner's court coming up in another week and a day. Do you think
24.
maybe we ought to maybe have something on the commissioner's court, maybe to touch on any new information and everything, just as an update? Because that would be just a week from now. And that way we could actually bring anything, any new information forward that we don't have today.
Sure.
Be a good idea?
Yep.
All right, well then, I'll get that put on and we'll go ahead and have an item there where we can discuss it during Commissioner's Court, and then if we need additional workshops or whatever. But I want the public to understand that we're moving forward with this mandated system as quickly and as efficiently as possible, but it is a process. It does take a while, so.
I do want to add one more thing.
Certainly.
We need to do what you was asking Janice to do, see what everybody else is paying anything, but I'm gonna tell you guys, we're gonna have to pay good for this, because if we don't, we're gonna have a turnover rate. By
That's
the time you get a guy trained,
He's
in
gonna
1
leave.
year, he gonna say, oh, no, not for this money. And
We
we're gonna
know,
make continue.
we as commissioners, we know what he has to put up with.
Right.
Okay,
And
and
it's
that's
gonna
what we
have to
signed
pay.
up for, all right? And for, I don't complain about my salary, it's an honor to serve. But a person who comes in here and tries to take over 4 precincts is asking for a challenge.
And it's gonna need all of us on the court's help to make sure that it goes smooth. We're gonna have to help whoever that individual is and make sure it's the right person. Anything else? Until Commissioner's Court. Anything else? Thank you, Janice.
Motion adjourned.
All right.
Second.
All right, we have a motion. Item number 7, recess or adjourn. We do have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Anything that we didn't bring up? All right,
I just think,
Sure it'd be a lot.
I think I guess we'll make a decision on the 24th to start how we want to outline the application process.
hopefully we will have enough information to where we can go ahead and go forward with that at that point. But everything has to do with we're filling blocks right now.
Well,
We're getting information.
let me make this statement, and we got both of our news agencies here. There's people that may be interested in the job, they might want to start putting a resume together.
All right, all in favor of adjourning? Aye. Any opposed? Motion does pass. We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Hey, is this going over to